Krishna Brij Bihari Radha, Kunj Bihari Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra. Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Bala Gopal, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Harinam Sankirtana ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva-cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pachata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today we'll be discussing the 27th verse of the 7th chapter. So in this chapter, we've been hearing that Krishna is present everywhere. He is present through his energies, either his apara or para shakti, his superior spiritual energy or his inferior material energy. And when we recognize that, everything around us is a manifestation of one of Krishna's energies, then in our consciousness we can see that we are eternally connected with the Supreme Lord. We are always engaged with Him. And the conclusion of understanding that we are always with the Supreme Lord is that we should then surrender. It is He alone who is providing all the resources of the material world and spiritual world for our existence. And so, the logical conclusion then is that one should surrender. And Krishna said that when one surrenders to Krishna, then one can very easily overcome this divine material energy of Krishna. Otherwise, the material energy can be quite difficult, challenging, throwing us through so many loops, ups and downs, stress, anxiety, fear. But by simply surrendering to Krishna, seeing the presence of the Lord everywhere, we can find great peace. And Krishna says one can easily cross beyond it. That's what he says. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya durataya. So, he then spoke in this chapter about the 4 miscreants who do not surrender to Krishna. Those who are so consumed with their material possessions and obsessions and material sense desires that they fail to see that it is Krishna alone who is providing the means by which they may satisfy their senses. And it is Krishna alone that is providing the facilities to enjoy. And he explained 3 other types of miscreants. And then Krishna spoke about 4 types of personalities who do come to Krishna. But they have some motive, some desire. And he still considers them very pious. Because by coming to Krishna, he says, that one will slowly purify of these desires and come to him ultimately in pure love, which is our goal. So he says that they come when in distress, in need of money, when they are just curious or wise. Right? So he spoke about these 4 types of souls and said they're very pious because they're going to Krishna at least in their time of need. Now, then Krishna began to speak about those who surrender to others. They surrender, but not to Krishna. And he spoke about those who surrender to the various devatas. And he spoke that surrendering to the devatas is not the optimal means to obtain that which we desire, which is peace and happiness. And so last time we gathered to speak on chapter 7, we were speaking about in the 25th verse where Krishna said, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency. And therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So Krishna does not reveal himself to everyone. And he enacts his Maya potency to keep one in illusion. Illusion of what? What is reality? The reality is we're constantly in connection with the Supreme Lord. And at any moment we don't see that I'm connected with the Lord, that means we are in illusion. Right? The reality is that. Anytime on this planet Earth I see someone seemingly floating, that is illusion. Because the force of gravity is present everywhere. We know that. So similarly, the presence of the Lord is everywhere. So he said he enacts his Maya energy to bring one into illusion. Now, in this next verse, the 26th verse, Krishna says, though, but I am not in illusion. Maya doesn't cover I see everything. And thus he says, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. So this illusory curtain of Maya on stage, when the actors are on stage and the audience are in their chairs, when the curtain closes, the audience can no longer see the actors, right? But also the actors can no longer see the audience. So the question may come, when Maya comes and covers our ability to see Krishna, is it like a curtain where now Krishna can no longer see us? And he says, no. I see everything. I know past, present, and future. So while we may remain covered in Maya, Krishna, being the source of this energy, is never under their influence. So it is not like a curtain on the stage. It is a one-way. Krishna is seeing everything. So now the question may come, why we became in illusion? Anybody wonders, well then why we became subject to Maya? If Krishna is present everywhere, if he is the supreme source of everything, we are his part and parcel, then why did we fall into the influence of Maya? In the spiritual world, there is no Maya. So that question may come. So this is the question that Krishna is answering now. How we became influenced by Maya, and then again he's going to say how to get beyond it. And that'll conclude this 7th chapter. That's a little bit of an overview and context for this 27th verse. So in this 27th verse, Krishna is speaking about iccha and dvesa. O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The delusory energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Shri Krishna appears by his internal potencies. But those who are deluded by duality and nescience think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in the dualities of honor and dishonor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, this illusory energy, Maya, it deludes us from seeing things as they are, right? And that is the ability of a great magician. A magician tries to create an illusion to get us to think something that is not happening is actually happening. So, when we are in the material world trying to enjoy the various facilities separate from Krishna, we are in illusion. So how that came? So this iccha and dvesa, these desires and dvesa. Dvesa means hate. So this explains how the spirit soul fell from the spiritual world. We all started in the spiritual world. Part and parcel of Krishna, we were in the spiritual world. But then something happened. Something happened that led us to this material world. And what is that something? It is not that our visa expired or somebody said, let's go for a joyride to the material world. No. It is not we are forced. We had a desire. We had an iccha. And what was that desire?
Be independent. Or
Be independent. Independent of who?
Krishna.
Krishna. Why we had a desire to be independent of Krishna?
Because we want to enjoy.
We wanted to enjoy, but we are enjoying in the spiritual world.
Be the master.
We wanted to be the master, okay?
Envy of Krishna.
Envy of Krishna. What is envy?
I only should have.
I should have. But you said one other word. I only. Jealousy is, you have a piece of candy, I want also a piece of candy. That is jealousy. You have iPhone 10, oh, I like iPhone 10. Envy is a step further. I want it, and I don't want you to have it. It's very evil, actually. So when envy manifests, ultimately we come to hate. Hate what? Who? Krishna. Because he has everything. He is the supreme controller. So this desire to be independent. Why you? Why not me? That desire manifested. So Krishna, being so loving, he's fulfilled our desire. We had a desire to try to be independent of the Lord. So he said, if you want to be independent of me, you can go to this material world and pretend to be independent. In reality, you can never be independent, but I have sent my illusory energy, Maya Devi, to create an illusion. And when you're in illusion, what we see or perceive is not reality. What do we see? When we're under illusion, what do we see? We came to the material world. Now, is it possible ever to be separated from Krishna? Every breath we take, where is it coming from? Who is providing the air? Every grain of food we take, who is providing the sun so that the photosynthesis will manifest within the plant, that it'll grow and create the energy to produce a crop? Who is providing? Where the soil comes from, such that you can put a seed into this soil and somehow will come up something magnificent, like a banyan tree, out of a simple tiny seed. Who's providing the soil? Who's providing the seed? We say the seed came from the tree. Well, where did the tree come from? Seed. And we're back to the age-old question. What came first? Chicken or the egg? What came first? Krishna. Is the source of everything. So, every step of the way, we're constantly relying on the provisions of the Supreme Lord. We are interacting with them, whether we see it or not. And why don't we see it? We're an illusion. Maya. Her potency is covering our vision. And why she is covering our vision?
We desire.
We desired. Krishna did not desire. We desired. So how to undo the illusion?
Connect back to Krishna.
Desire Krishna. So simple. We desire to be away, and now we can desire to come back. But when will that desire manifest? How will that desire manifest? To be with Krishna.
Try to remember him. Try to remember him.
To try to remember him. And when will that desire to remember him come?
Association.
Have a guru.
Guru association.
We have to think of what Krishna has done. Only then the desire develops.
We have to think where we are.
Faith.
So Prabhupada says in the opening line of this purport, someone can read. What's the first line of the purport?
The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination of the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge.
In the next sentence,
When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusionary energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
so what is the real constitutional position of us as spirit soul?
To be a servant.
To be a servant. And immediately when we hear servant, what happens? Oh, no. I want to be master. I want to be boss. I want to be controller. Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one controller, and that is the Supreme Lord. If we want to be controller, we can pretend to be. It's just like a child. A young child, a young girl sees mother cooking in the kitchen and says, "Oh, I want to cook, I want to cook." And mother says, "You cannot cook. I'm the cook. You're the eater." "No, I want to cook, I want to cook." So then, mother sets up a small play kitchen. And the child cooks for a while. But then what happens? They're satisfied?
No. I want the real thing.
They want the real thing.
Mm.
And they come back to mother. "Mother, can I help you cook? Can I assist you?" And then what does mother do? Allows, right? When child is ready to serve mother in cooking, then no problem. But if she says, "Mother, you go away, I want to cook," doesn't work that way. So we told Krishna, no, I want to be the. So we're playing in this pretend material world. It is all illusion. The material world is not illusion. It is real. Our consciousness of being separate from Krishna is illusion. Some want to say, no, this whole world is illusion. No. It's temporary. But it's real. It's tangible. It exists. But our perception of it, thinking separate from Krishna, that is illusion. That doesn't work. And when we fall to illusion, we come to this point of duality. What is duality?
Yes, no.
Yes, no.
Good, bad.
Good, bad.
Hot, cold.
Hot, cold. Do we like duality?
No.
Hmm?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
We like duality, huh?
Because we can make the choice.
Because we can make the choice. Well, duality only exists. You like bad? They said good, bad. You like bad? We only want good. When it's too cold, we wish it was warmer. When it's too hot, we wish it was. So what do we actually want?
We don't
No
know.
duality.
Just some right in the middle. We don't want duality. When some food stuff is too spicy, we want a little bit less. And when it's not spicy, no taste, we want. This is duality. Where does duality exist? Wherever there is delusion. Why? Because with Krishna, can there ever be bad? In the spiritual world, there's no duality. There's no good person, bad person. Everybody is perfect. There's no today the weather is good, tomorrow the weather is bad. The weather is always perfect. There is no today I'm rich, tomorrow I'm poor. Everyone has unlimited wealth. There is no this person is attractive, this person is ugly. Everyone has immense beauty. There's no today I'm tired, tomorrow I'm energetic. We're constantly full of energy. This duality is the source of our misery and frustration. And these iccha and dvesha are connected. There's one extremely peculiar thing about the material world that if we don't analyze or think about introspectively, we lose. Everything that we want, think about this statement. Everything that we want leads to hatred, dvesha. The iccha leads to dvesha. I want gulab jamuns. I want gulab jamuns. So if I get only gulab jamuns for the rest of my life, I'll be happy? That gulab jamun, which was giving me happiness, ultimately I'll become repulsed by it. I can't even look at it. Even hearing the word will make my mind cringe. I think, I want fame. I wish everybody knew who I was. And what do the famous want? Peace. Privacy. They want no one to see where they are going. They have to work so hard to get out of the public eye. When people acquire so much wealth, what do many of them wish? I wish I never had any of it. Life was simpler without it. So in the material world, every desire, every single thing that we want ultimately leads to hatred, dvesha. That is a reality of the material world. It is only a question of when we're going to be objective to acknowledge it. And in the spiritual world, it's completely opposite. Everything that one does in the spiritual world, one gets more pleasure. Today, if I am reading something from Bhagavad Gita, tomorrow when I read, I'll get more pleasure. It never turns into dvesha. Because in the spiritual world, everything is absolute. It is perfect. There is no activity that leads to frustration. But what is the required position and consciousnesses of us to experience that? What does Prabhupada say? What do we have to recognize and realize? In the first sentence. Who is pure knowledge? But what is the thing that we have to recognize of our position? We are servant. We are servant of Krishna. Why are we servant of Krishna? He is the supreme controller.
We are the parts and parcel of Krishna.
We are part and parcel of Krishna. What is the function of any part?
To serve the whole.
Serve the whole. The hand is a part of my body. Is the hand the body? It's a part of the body. What is the function of the hand?
Serve the body.
To enjoy independently. Saying, no, stomach, you can't enjoy it. The hand wants to enjoy. Can it enjoy? No. The hand gets its function and value and satisfaction when it's serving the whole. So because we are part and parcel of Krishna, our position is one of service to the whole. And who is the whole? It's Krishna. But so long as we are in delusion of who is servant and who is master, we'll be subjected to these dualities, which give us constant frustration, stress, fear, anxiety. Fear is born out of losing something we care about, something that we value. In the spiritual world, how can there be any fear? Everything is eternal. If everything is eternal, how can there be fear? There's no fear. But in the spiritual world, every step is an opportunity where we could lose everything. And so we are riddled with this stress, fear, anxiety. But as soon as we come to realize that we are part and parcel of Krishna, who is our ever protector, well-wisher, best friend, everything becomes peaceful. This illusion, one can come beyond it even in this lifetime, while in the material world. It is not that we have to wait till the spiritual world to become free from illusion. One can transcend by simply following, seeing Krishna present in everything around us, as he is explained in the beginning of this chapter. But it takes desire. Just as it took desire for us to become illusioned by the material world, it takes desire to become unillusioned. And the unillusioned process is to take to the process of serving Krishna. Because at the end of the day, we have only two options. Either I'm going to serve my own senses, or I'm going to serve Krishna's senses. Innate to the spirit soul is this nature to serve. If you analyze, no one in the material world is not serving. We're all serving. Actually, it is service which gives us pleasure, ultimately. We're serving our family, society, country, job, our dog, our home, so many things, right? The supposed most powerful person in the world, the presidents of these countries, who are they serving? All of the citizens. It is a job of service. No one is free from service. So the question is not even whether I should serve or not. The only question is who I shall serve. Well, this iccha-dvesa, this desire and hatred, is what has led us to this world of duality. So if we make the decision to serve Krishna, then everything becomes so simple. so blissful, perfect. So our desires have to become purified. It is not that we're going to, when Krishna says to become desireless, what does that mean? What does Krishna want us, what does he mean when he says desireless? We should have no desires?
You should have only one desire,
What is that?
to serve Krishna.
We should only have spiritual desires. How I can serve Krishna, how I can please Krishna, how I can become free from illusion so that I may more sweetly serve Krishna. Desires are going to be there. But this Krishna consciousness is a process of transforming our material desires into spiritual desires. That is the process of devotional service. Bringing our desires from those that bring us and keep us in this world of duality to that will take us to a place of absolute perfection. So we have to desire, and then we have to work. Otherwise, we become in this very misfortunate state. In this iccha-dvesa, this hatred. And remember, our presence here in the material world is manifested from our desire to be independent of Krishna. This desire to be independent is deeply rooted within all of us. We don't want to follow. We want to do our own thing. Due to our intense false ego, we want this independent right to do what we want. We can exercise that right. That is our free will. Krishna will never take it away and force us. But that desire to be independent of Krishna has led us here. So we can see it's better we follow. Life is so much happier. And if we want proof, read the pastimes of Krishna and see how all of his associates, all of his devotees, they are in constant bliss, always enjoying. Why? Because they're always following. That's the path of perfection. So, this is how we became illusioned. We fell into the illusory, underneath the spell of illusory energy by our desires. And ultimately it manifests into hatred of Krishna. And now we are in the process of purifying and reawakening our original love for Krishna. Because that is the constitutional position. And when we do, see how Krishna reciprocates. This desire to be master is so deeply rooted. But the devotees realize it is better that Krishna be the master. It's so much easier living under the shelter of Krishna. And when he reciprocates, we see, we lose confusion of who is master and who is servant. Krishna is driving his devotee. Krishna is being bound by Mother Yashoda. Krishna is performing so many pastimes. And we wonder, who is the controller? Even Lord Brahma is confused when Krishna is eating lunch with his friends. Such an intimate relationship exists. When we stop this desire to be independent of Krishna. So that's how we conquer Maya. And so Krishna will say in the next verse that one can very easily be freed from dualities. These dualities look very difficult to get over. But in the very next verse, Krishna gives us confidence that we can become free from these dualities. How? When we engage themselves in my service with Why determination? Why determination?
The goal is fixed.
The goal is fixed. Why do we have to be determined? Yes, because the goal is fixed. What else?
Maya
Push
can
us
come
in.
in and push you in another direction. If you're not determined.
If we're not determined, who will take advantage of our lack of determination? She'll come. And, oh, you can do tomorrow. You can do tomorrow. It's no big deal. No big deal. But if we're determined, no, I must, then she takes a back seat. She takes a back seat. She actually wants to see us go back to Krishna. But she's fulfilling her service and ultimately fulfilling our desire. So, we'll read that next week. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
In 25th verse, Krishna is saying that he is not known to foolish and unintelligent persons. On what basis Krishna is selecting the soul? That this soul should know me, this one should not know me, on the basis of karma, or whether?
So on what basis does Krishna select who will know him and who will not? Well, Krishna does not select. Who selects? We do. With our independent free will, we choose our own actions. And based on those actions, reactions come and situations come. So those who are envious of Krishna, they hate him. So what happens? They never know him. Why they never know him? They don't want to know him. If you hate someone, you never want to see them. So Krishna fulfills their desire. And he never manifests to them. He never manifests to them. But if we think, no, I want to know Krishna. I wish I knew more about him. I wish I could understand his presence in my life. I don't, but I wish I did. Then how Krishna will respond? He will help us see his hand in our lives. So Krishna is constantly answering to our desires. This is how loving Krishna is. When we have friends, we only answer to their desires that are good for us. Think about it. When a friend asks us to do something, ultimately we'll think, is it good for us? Even if we're rendering some service to help, ultimately we want to know. If our friend only called us when they needed something, how long we would allow them to be our friend? Krishna answers every one of our calls. So he does not select who knows him and who does not. It is based on our desire. It is based on our free will. You know, this idea that, oh, I'm destined to be a sinner. You guys are, sort of destined to be. I am not. That is on his own. In a sense, based on the desires and actions of each individual living entity. We all have minute free will. Why do I say minute? Because we are still dependent on Krishna. If I want to move my hand, am I completely free to move my hand? All I can do is express desire. After that, everything up here and here has to work. And who is orchestrating all of that? Doctors want to think they're orchestrating it. But when it doesn't work and they can't get it to work, then who is orchestrating it? Right? So he does not select. We select. So if you want to know Krishna, that is what we should pray. Any other questions here?
So probably I was trying to understand, like in this Western world, like these people don't know who is Krishna. They don't know any devatas or anyone. So how they could accept? Okay, Krishna is the how Krishna is the how they accepted that yes, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and then so like I was kind of trying to think about that, because like sometimes even back in India we have so much of devatas that they have some spiritual background, so maybe some people will accept it, some people will not completely take it. So how this happens to somebody that they come to Krishna consciousness?
Well, how it happens, we saw it right in front of our eyes. Srila Prabhupada came and brought this teaching to those who had no clue, no Vedic culture, no culture at all. And he brought Krishna to them. That is what a very compassionate, merciful devotee does. A devotee brings Krishna to everyone and anyone, carrying the message of God. Helping each living entity remember what they have forgotten. We are all children of Krishna, but we have forgotten it. So someone compassionate, when a child is lost and separated from his mother and father, any stranger sees that child, what they'll do? They'll pick up that child and try to find how I can bring them back to their mother and father. That is what one with real compassion has. And that is what...
But then like coming to Krishna consciousness requires a mercy from the God also, like with Mataji's question. So like if that mercy is not there, then even if I desire or don't desire, I may not be in that state, right?
So, in order to know God, two things are required. We must desire and Krishna's mercy must come. Right? The example is given in planting a crop. A farmer can plant, cultivate, fertilize the fields. But if rains don't come, nothing happens. But if the farmer thinks, well, Krishna will do, the rains will come, but if he doesn't cultivate the fields and plant the seeds, rains will come, but no crop will manifest. So both are needed. It is. Our desire and Krishna's mercy. So our job is to help people develop the desire. And when they desire, Krishna will guaranteed bring. His mercy is there for all of us. Sometimes I wish Krishna's mercy. It's there. Are we ready to take it? It's like we're sitting inside the house and we wish, I wish the sun would shine on me. The sun would shine on me. The sun's shining outside. Are we ready to step outside the door and take that sunlight? Krishna's mercy is there. Are we ready to take it? He's always showering His mercy on every living entity. Even those who are not following Him, He's still giving mercy. How they can eat, breathe, exist, enjoy the material world to some degree. It's all in Krishna's mercy. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a doubt. Actually, Krishna gives the reaction for our actions. But sometimes we don't do bad, but we think bad. Good and bad. For that thinking also, there is reactions waiting for us.
The laws of karma say this, that so long as we don't act, we don't get a reaction. So I may think to steal. No reaction. Until I perform the activity. But the problem is, the more I think, that builds and builds and builds. Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar Devotion this bijam and kutam, this proclivity leads to desires, which then leads to action. But it is until we act, with the caveat that in devotional life, offenses against a devotee, Vaishnava prad, even thinking creates reaction. So we must be very careful. And Mother Sachi, in her interactions and comments with Advaita Acharya, illustrate this great point. But in the material affairs, so long as we don't do, there's no reaction. But we have to be careful, because the more we think, it progresses ultimately into action. The best way to become free from these desires, to become free from this iccha and dvesa, is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Chanting the holy names of the Lord is the only medicine that will give us the strength to overcome the illusory energy and to again remember our constitutional position as servant. So we'll take this chanting process. Do it daily. It's important that we take to it daily. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki